Can we not just keep them up for a few days more?
No. It's time to take them down and get back to normal. Come on. I'll help you.
You can say what you want about Wilfried Nancy's time at Celtic so far, but I'll tell you one thing, it ain't half exciting. I'm not a Celtic fan, in fact my team aren't even in the Premiership anymore, but I have been tuning into pretty much every Celtic game at the minute, because you know there are always going to be goals and just pure all-round utter chaotic nonsense. Wilfried Nancy has now been Celtic manager for 7 games. 7 whole games of Wilfried ball, Nancy ball, brother ball, kamikaze ball, whatever you want to call it. And as the Celtic manager, you'd be hoping and kind of expected to win all 7 games. Now, one was a tough Europa League game against Roma, so 6 would be acceptable. He's won 2, he has a 29% win rate and has broken all sorts of records that you don't want to break as Celtic manager. Like being the first ever Celtic manager to lose his first 2 games in charge. And just to make sure that that record will never be beaten, he decided to lose his first 4. I mean, Russell Martin was bullied online and in person for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. His results weren't nearly this bad. In fact, the 2 games they did win were Aberdeen at home, who had 10 men for most of the game, and it took them till the 88th minute to go 2-1 up and then go 3-1 up a couple minutes later. And they also beat Livingston away from home. Now, Livingston are the worst team in the Premiership by like quite some margin this season, and Celtic conceded twice to them. In what was the most chaotic 10 minutes of football possibly ever seen. So, should we bother setting our teams up to defend for the first 10 minutes? Nah. So, let's have a look at some of the games in more detail. Now, I'm no tactical expert. My CV includes taking Wigan to the Premier League on Football Manager and learning how to say the word catenaccio, so bear with me. Wilfried Nancy's preferred system is a 3-4-3. It's what he's primarily used in his time at Celtic so far, bar a couple of occasions. He wants his team to keep the ball, like really keep the ball. Possession, possession, possession. Even in their last game against Motherwell, who are another team that really liked to keep the ball, they still had nearly 60% possession. And against teams like Hearts, Dundee United and Aberdeen, it was well over 70%. Now that means of course they are playing out from the back, which is something they have kind of struggled with. Going back to that Motherwell game for instance, there was countless times where they gave the ball away in their own final third. I mean, one of them even led to a goal. And it is a little strange that both Rangers and Celtic have had managers come in this season that have tried to play really heavy possession-based football. And both of them have fallen flat on their faces. And I think part of the reason for that is that unlike the MLS and at Southampton for example, the Scottish game works a little differently. You see, Rangers and Celtic have always been able to have a lot of possession. That's always been a characteristic in the Scottish game, because most clubs are happy to let them do that. And to me, again, no genius could be way off with this, possession-based football doesn't really work when the other team doesn't want the ball. Overloading the attacking wide areas, trying to tire out the opposition, doesn't really work and is kind of redundant when the other team are just trying to catch you on the counter-attack anyway. And Brother Wilfried's kamikaze ball is certainly vulnerable to the counter. In fact, it's vulnerable to pretty much every attack. Celtic haven't kept a clean sheet in the 7 games he's been in charge. And even at its best, the tactic still very much feels like a we're gonna score more goals than you type of approach. Now, there'll be people that will say, well, he doesn't have the right players to fit the system he wants to play. And to them, I have 2 things to say. 1, is Wilfried Nancy's 3-4-3 the perfect system? Like, if you had all the right players and all the time on the training pitch for everyone to understand it, is it the perfect system? Is it unbeatable? Because I wouldn't have thought so. So surely, you're gonna have to have a backup plan. I mean, 3 at the back has never been the go-to winning formation, let's be honest there. It's quite difficult to get it to work, so to me anyway, it's your job as the manager to find the best system for the players you have. But it doesn't really seem like Wilfried Nancy is up for doing that.
Right, looks like it's time for plan B. Oh, right. There's a plan B, is there? It's just plan A was so brilliantly devised, I wouldn't have thought we'd need a plan B.
And if you're a Celtic fan, one of the worst things about this whole situation is the fact that Wilfried Nancy seems to think that his team are doing quite well and just getting unlucky. But do not fear, worried Celtic fans, because Wilfried Nancy has a message for you.
I think that we're going to get better because there is certain things that we need to improve and certain things that I think that we've...
Whenever we hear Wilfried Nancy speak, he always seems like a very laid-back character, almost like he isn't fully aware of just how much of a hostile environment he's actually found himself in.
Oh, listen, obviously I would like to get a clean sheet, but like I said, when we have a look about the first goal that we conceded, it's a throw-in, and after that a ball across. So, and the second one, this is during our build-up.
Before the Motherwell game, it started to look like he may have a chance at pulling this back, but now I don't think you could find one Celtic fan who still has any faith in him. And I'm starting to genuinely consider the possibility that maybe he grew up like a Rangers fan back in France, and this is like the greatest undercover mission of all time. I mean, the cryptic social media posts certainly add fuel to that fire. The one thing he has managed to do, though, is exonerate Russell Martin's crimes against football.
First time.
In fact, I'm half expecting a Dumb and Dumber sequel to come out at the end of the season and find out this was all just one big social experiment planned by Tony Bloom in order to give Hearts a chance at winning the league. And if it was, I'd honestly tip my hat to them.
Stevie! 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 Pull back! Pull back! Pull back, boy! Come on with you!
Of course, this is a football video about a chaotic manager, so I do have to ask the standard question. If he loses the next game, which is of course Rangers at home tomorrow, the big old firm game, the one that matters most to both sets of fans, does he get sacked? Well, it's an interesting one. Obviously 8 games is an incredibly small sample size to sack a manager, but if he was to lose, that would be 6 out of 8 games he's lost. There is no coming back from that. But would the Celtic board actually sack him though? Well, it is the Celtic board, so anything could happen. They could end up giving him a new contract or a big pay rise. And I think it's clear that most Celtic fans did want him gone after 3 games. I mean, the extreme ones wanted him out the door after 1 game. And to me, there's quite a fitting Japanese quote that sums up my thoughts on this Celtic situation completely. Celtic, of course, a club who've had some great Japanese players at the club and still have some great Japanese players at the club. And in Japanese legend, there's a quote that goes, "If you get on the wrong train, get off at the nearest station, because the longer you stay on the train, the more expensive the return trip is."
Turn off.